Don't count on traditional ways to help your toddler participate in quiet time if they're extra stubborn. There's still a way to do it. It's just going to require a little bit of work up front on your end. But it's so worth it. Picture this. You get through a task without a toddler climbing all over you. Or, dare I say it, you get some self-care in. Who doesn't need that? Quiet time is usually whatever you make of it. Every family has a different definition of it. It's a different length of time for every family. It has different activities, but the main point is that you and your toddler each have your own space during this time to engage in some quiet activities to help you both reset, which is good for everyone. And as far as behavioral strategies go for extra stubborn kids, so these are going to be the kids that just have a really hard time sticking with it, staying in whatever location you've picked out for them, be it the couch, a fort that you've built, their bedroom, and being able to stay quiet during that time without following you around, arguing with you, doing all the things they're not supposed to be doing during quiet time, so you have some time for yourself. So the two behavioral strategies are to either go ahead and pick a time for quiet time and then stay there with them the entire time at first, and then slowly over time fade yourself out of quiet time, or just never be part of quiet time, but just start quiet time out literally for like 3 minutes at first, and then slowly increase that to more and more time. I'm Tanya, and I'm a behavior analyst. I work with parents to help teach them how to use behavioral strategies to manage their toddler's difficult behaviors. And this is Max. He is my lovely assistant. And then we've got Rex right over there. He's our supervisor, of course. I'm going to link a video down below on how to introduce quiet time to your toddler that came before this video. That one's got all the background and basic steps on how to teach your child what quiet time is and how to go about the whole idea. But these 2 steps are for strong-willed toddlers, so you would do them in addition to the other 4 steps. Also, you don't need to do both of these things. You just need to pick one, whatever you're more comfortable with. Or you can try one, and if it doesn't work, you can always try the other. So let's talk about the first one. You would be working on being in the room with your child for the entire quiet time, or their fort, whatever location you've picked. As I mentioned in the previous video, you want to choose a location and provide a lot of choices. Once you've done all of these things, you know where to start. You're gonna set a timer. I usually find that a visual timer is super effective with toddlers. It's a good visual way for them to understand what's going on and how much time there is left. Also, how fast is the time going? I've got a free app that I use on my phone. I will show it here on the screen, and I'll link it down below as well. I'm not affiliated or anything, but I found it to be really helpful, so I try to share it with parents when I can, especially the ones I work with. But all you do is you say, hey, okay, we're gonna do quiet time. We're gonna do it for 30 minutes. Let's set the timer. Do you wanna press the start button, or do you want me to press the start button? Sorry, that's Max lying down on the floor loudly. So what you would do is say, hey, it's time for quiet time. We've decided it's gonna be 30 minutes. Cool, here's our timer. We're gonna set it. Do you wanna press start? Do you want me to press start? Again, as I mentioned in the previous video, as many choices as possible is what you wanna present. So that's usually pretty effective with kids, and it makes them more likely to go along with it. They're like, oh, okay, I can press the button. The main thing is don't let them have access to that phone once that timer is set, because with this specific app, you can choose to fast forward it, you can choose to stop it and reset it, and it's a disaster if they get a hold of it. But the cool thing about it is that as it winds down, a picture starts appearing, and so you can use that to kind of distract your toddler if they're becoming a little distraught about the whole quiet time. Well, I don't want to, all these kinds of things. I want to go outside and play in the backyard, that kind of thing. I'm like, hey, absolutely. As soon as we're done with quiet time, we will go play outside in the backyard if that's what we've chosen for the next activity. Again, throwback to the last video. So I'll mention, hey, look here, I see a picture forming, but I'm not sure what it is. I wonder what it's gonna be. Do you think it's gonna be a teddy bear? What if it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex? And we'll make all kinds of guesses. And then while I'm talking about the timer, I will slowly fade into whatever activities we've got set for quiet time. Because the main purpose of this is for you to teach your toddler what they should be doing during quiet time, because they're having difficulty with it, right? They're running after you, they're leaving the space, they're not able to engage in quiet time on their own. So that's what you're here to do. That's what you're here to teach them. Don't be on your phone while you're doing this. That timer should be up so that they can see the time winding down and you can engage in the activities with them. Try not to play with them too much. Like, you kind of want to, the word is prompt, but you kind of want to guide them through playing on their own and you kind of just being there, because it's going to make it a lot easier as you start trying to fade yourself out. You don't want to make quiet time too fun with you. You want to make it about them playing on their own. Show me how you do that with the Play-Doh, you know, or what's Woody going to do over there on the farm? Ask them questions, but let them be the ones to go through the play if you can. If your toddler is having a ton of issues with this, it may be that they don't have play skills. I come across that with toddlers a lot. And that is something that I can definitely give some advice on. Let me know in the comments down below if that's an issue that you have with your toddler, and if enough people say it's a problem, I have no issue coming up with a video with a bunch of tips on how to do that. I actually do that for work. I work with kids that are neurodiverse, and I teach play skills all day long, honestly. It doesn't really matter if a kid's neurotypical or neurodiverse. Some of them just have difficulty playing or knowing how to play, especially in a world with a lot of screen time. So anyway, back to fading yourself out. You want to be there the full time for the first week. Okay, so every day you're gonna do quiet time, you're gonna be there the entire time, you're gonna be working on them playing and being quiet. Next week, you're gonna say, okay, mommy's going to leave and you're going to stay here for the last minute by yourself. Give them a heads up. I know that you might not want to, right? Because if you mention it, it could lead to a meltdown, because then you're arguing before it even happens. But you really want to build trust with your toddler, and you want them to know that you are going to be honest with them and that you're going to do what you say and say what you do. So if your main goal is to start quiet time with your toddler and to be able to transition out, you have to be able to do this. You can't just spring it on them, because that's going to make it worse. So as much as it sucks to have to bring it up ahead of time, I mean, I'm talking about like when you're going over the rules, again, mentioned in the previous video. When you're going over the rules before you even start quiet time, you're going to say, today you're going to spend 1 minute all by yourself. So what you would do then is, if your quiet time is 30 minutes, you're going to set that visual timer for 29 minutes. When that goes off, you're going to say, okay, what are you going to do for 1 minute? Help guide them through it. Let them process it, get them started on it, and then set your timer for 1 minute and leave the room. You can be right outside the door if you need to. I know this is a lot of work. I hear you. Again, this is only if your main goal is to get that quiet time started. It's not always going to be this way. I know that having to do 29 minutes and then 1 minute is a hassle, especially when I tell you you're going to have to do it for at least 3 days before you pop back to like 28 minutes and then he's by himself for 2 minutes. It doesn't always have to be 1 minute by 1 minute. That would be awful. You usually want to do it like by 1 minute, like increase the time that the toddler is on their own by 1 minute, probably until you reach 5 minutes. Usually at the 5 minute mark, then I'll jump to like 8 minutes. From 8, I'll jump to 10, and then from there, I'll go from 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 if I can. You'll know if you've jumped too fast, because your toddler's gonna have a hell of a time with it, and they're not gonna be able to follow the rules for quiet time, to just stay in this space and be quiet without bothering you. So if that's happening too often, you've made the jump too far and you've got to go back a step. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's kind of how it is with toddlers. You have to take your time. You have to meet them where they are. And again, if this is your main goal, then it would be worth it for you. If it's not, then maybe quiet time just isn't for you guys, and that's okay. You know your toddler best, so you'll be able to gauge, if you're making progress or if maybe the other strategy is for you. So let's talk about the other strategy. And that one, instead of doing the full time, then you fading yourself out, you're never a part of the process. You're working on teaching them to tolerate quiet time. So you're going to start out with 1 minute. I mean, you can test out, test it out. Try 5 minutes, see how it goes. Or maybe just tell your toddler, hey, we're going to do quiet time for a little bit. I'll be back. And maybe time it and see how long your toddler can stay in that area and play quietly. That's your baseline. You can go from there. Okay, he made it to 4 minutes. So I'm going to stretch it. And when I'm starting to teach him to do it for a little bit longer, maybe I'll try it for 6 or 7 minutes. Sorry, that is my dog scratching. This is what happens when they follow you around the house. And again, just like with the last option that I mentioned, you would do whatever your target duration is. Let's say it is 6 minutes. I would do, 6 minutes for 3 days in a row. If your toddler is able to stay in that room without crying, whining, tantruming, screaming for you, if they're able to follow those quiet time rules that you have set and talked about, then you know that you can move on. You can try 10 minutes if you want to. Give it a shot. I mean, if it doesn't work, then you just know you've got to go back a step. No big deal. You need to try a little bit less time. You'll know how it goes as you go along it. It can go very quickly once they start to understand, because you know how it is. You lose track of time easily once you're doing something you like. So if they really do have those play skills down and you've chosen good activities that are basically set aside just for quiet time, they're going to want to play with them more. They're going to want to play with them longer because it's something they don't get to do often. And so all these types of things will help them do quiet time longer. I hope all that made sense. It can be a little difficult to explain, but once you're doing it, it's really not that hard. With either strategy, all you're doing is working on adding on time to teach them how to be by themselves. The main thing is just make sure that they can do it for at least 3 days in a row by themselves without throwing a fit before adding on more time. Because if you'll see it, if you do it too quickly, it's going to be a meltdown. It's not going to be pretty. And that's how you'll know, okay, I went too fast. Let me do a little bit less time. Or maybe I need to sit in on a couple of sessions and then pull back and see how it goes. I'm rooting for you. I know you've got this. It's a pain in the ass at first, but so worth it when you finally reach the point where you can have 30 minutes, maybe even an hour, depending on your kid, and you can get some things done or not get things done. Just sit on the couch, drink a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, I ain't gonna judge, and take some time for yourself. You deserve it. That's Rex. He agrees. So you're going to start these things and you're going to encounter meltdowns. That's just a fact of life. I'm not pretending ooh, these are quick fixes and there's not going to be any meltdowns, no tantrums, everything's easy peasy. That's just not the way life works with a toddler. So the reality is that, yes, there will most likely be some whining, crying, screaming, running after you during the times that you're trying to teach them to tolerate quiet time and learn that it is a fun time and that they can do things that they like during this time and that it's not the end of the world. And these behaviors kind of defeat the purpose of quiet time, don't they? But don't worry, I can fix it. I can always fix it, or at least try to. My next video has tips on what to do when you encounter these behaviors while you're trying to teach quiet time, because there are some things that you can do to make it worse, and there's some things that you can do to make it better and hopefully get through it faster so that you can get them to tolerate quiet time faster so that, you get some time for yourself. I feel like I said that 1,000 times, but it's true. I'll link that video down below in case you're having difficulty with quiet time. I hope that it helps. If not, let me know. Chime in the comments. We'll fix this. Thanks for watching. My goal is to bring some peace into your home, into your parenting styles, and get you to just easy times, or as easy as I can be with toddlers, so that you can spend time with your family where you're not feeling stressed or like you're nitpicking every little thing. You really just want to spend some quality time with them. And that's what I'm here for. Let's do it.